Have you ever wondered what happens when Hollywood's biggest stars suddenly disappear from our screens? Not because they chose to retire, but because their careers were obliterated entirely overnight by scandals so shocking that the entire entertainment industry turned their backs on them. Today, we're diving into 7 celebrities who went from A-list royalty to Hollywood pariahs faster than you can say action and cut. These aren't just stories about famous people making mistakes. These are cautionary tales about how quickly fame can turn into infamy, how one moment can destroy decades of work, and how some bridges in Hollywood can never be rebuilt once they're burned. From Oscar winners to box office champions, these stars learned the hard way that in the entertainment business, your reputation is everything, and losing it can cost you millions. Let's start with someone who was once considered untouchable in Hollywood. Kevin Spacey dominated both film and television for over 3 decades. His performances in American Beauty and The Usual Suspects are still studied in acting classes today. He won 2 Academy Awards and seemed to have the golden touch with everything he appeared in. Then came House of Cards, the Netflix political thriller that catapulted him to become one of the highest-paid actors on television. But in 2017, everything changed when multiple allegations of sexual misconduct surfaced. The accusations painted a disturbing picture that spanned decades of his career. Netflix immediately cut ties with him, removing him from the final season of House of Cards entirely, and scrapping a completed biographical film about Gore Vidal that had cost them millions to produce. Sony pulled its upcoming movie All the Money in the World from theaters and spent millions reshooting all its scenes with Christopher Plummer in just 9 days. The financial devastation was unprecedented. Spacey went from earning $20 million per year to being completely unemployable in Hollywood. His talent agency dropped him, his publicist abandoned him, and his management company severed all ties with him. Projects worth hundreds of millions of dollars were either canceled or completely reworked to remove any trace of his involvement. Moving from one Hollywood giant to another, Harvey Weinstein's fall from grace represents perhaps the most seismic shift in entertainment industry history. For decades, Weinstein was one of the most powerful producers in Hollywood. His company, Miramax and later the Weinstein Company, were behind some of cinema's most critically acclaimed films. He had the power to make or break careers with a single phone call. The man who helped launch the careers of Quentin Tarantino, Matt Damon, and Gwyneth Paltrow was revealed to have used his position to allegedly prey on countless women in the industry. When the dam finally burst in 2017, the flood of accusations was overwhelming. The Weinstein Company immediately filed for bankruptcy, erasing a business empire worth hundreds of millions of dollars. However, Weinstein's erasure extended beyond his own downfall. The scandal sparked the entire Me Too movement, fundamentally changing how Hollywood operates. Films that bore his name were retroactively distanced from him, and his influence on the industry was systematically dismantled. Projects he had greenlit were canceled, and actors who had worked with him scrambled to donate their earnings to charity. Now let's talk about someone whose fall was equally dramatic, but for entirely different reasons. Mel Gibson was once one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. The Mad Max franchise launched him to superstardom, and Braveheart established him as a serious director who could deliver both commercial and critical success. He seemed unstoppable until a series of increasingly controversial incidents destroyed his carefully crafted image. The turning point came with his 2006 arrest for drunk driving, during which he made anti-Semitic remarks that were recorded and later released to the public. But this was just the beginning. Audio recordings of him making racist and misogynistic comments during phone calls with his ex-girlfriend surfaced years later, cementing his status as a Hollywood persona non grata. Major studios stopped returning his calls overnight. Talent agencies refused to represent him. His planned projects were canceled, and his ability to secure financing for new films virtually disappeared. The man who had once commanded $20 million paychecks found himself struggling to get independent films made for a fraction of that budget. Charlie Sheen's spectacular self-destruction played out like a real-time social media meltdown that the entire world watched in horror. For years, he was the highest-paid actor on television, earning nearly $2 million per episode for 2.5 Men. His bad boy persona was carefully managed and actually contributed to his appeal with audiences. But in 2011, Sheen's personal demons exploded into public view, in the most chaotic way possible. His erratic interviews, bizarre social media posts, and increasingly unstable behavior culminated in his very public firing from the show that had made him wealthy beyond imagination. Terms like tiger blood and winning became internet memes. But behind the jokes was a man whose career was imploding in real time. CBS replaced him and continued the show without him, demonstrating that even the highest-paid television actor in history could be replaced. Sheen's subsequent projects failed to capture audiences, and his asking price plummeted from millions per episode to whatever independent producers could afford. Bill Cosby's Erasure from Hollywood represents one of the most shocking falls in entertainment history because of how dramatically it contrasted with his public image. For decades, he was America's dad, the wholesome comedian who brought families together through shows like The Cosby Show. His influence on television and comedy was immeasurable, and he had built a legacy that seemed unshakable. The contrast between his public persona and the serious criminal charges he eventually faced couldn't have been starker. When multiple women came forward with allegations spanning decades, the entertainment industry moved swiftly to distance itself from him. Reruns of his shows were pulled from television networks worldwide. Universities revoked the honorary degrees they had awarded him. His star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame became a site of protest rather than celebration. The financial impact was devastating, not just for Cosby, but for everyone associated with his projects. Syndication deals worth millions of dollars were canceled. Streaming services removed his content entirely. The Cosby Show, once one of television's most valuable properties in reruns, became virtually worthless overnight. Roseanne Barr's career resurrection and subsequent destruction happened with lightning speed. After years away from television, she successfully relaunched her career with a Roseanne reboot that became one of the most watched shows on television. The revival was hailed as a cultural phenomenon and seemed to position her for a major career comeback. Then came a single tweet that destroyed everything in a matter of hours. Her racist social media post about a former White House advisor led to immediate and severe consequences. ABC canceled the show within hours of the tweet, despite its massive success and the millions of dollars invested in production. The network quickly developed a spin-off called The Conners, which continued without her, proving that even a show built around her could survive her absence. Finally, we come to Armie Hammer, whose fall from grace shows how quickly a rising star can become radioactive in Hollywood. The actor who had appeared in major films like Call Me by Your Name and The Social Network seemed poised for A-list stardom. He had the looks, the talent, and the industry connections that typically guarantee success in Hollywood. But shocking allegations and disturbing social media messages surfaced that painted a deeply troubling picture. The accusations were so serious and bizarre that they seemed almost too outrageous to believe. However, the entertainment industry took them seriously enough to completely freeze him out. Projects he was attached to either replaced him or were canceled entirely. His talent representation dropped him, and his prospects evaporated overnight. These 7 stories share common themes that reveal important truths about how Hollywood really works. First, no one is truly untouchable, regardless of their talent, success, or influence. Second, the entertainment industry moves quickly to protect itself when scandals emerge, often sacrificing even the most profitable stars to preserve the industry's broader reputation. The speed at which these erasures occurred reveals just how fragile fame truly is. Careers that took decades to build were destroyed in days or even hours. Multi-million-dollar deals were canceled, projects were scrapped, and entire business empires collapsed due to individual actions. What makes these cases particularly fascinating is how completely and thoroughly these stars were erased. It wasn't just that they stopped getting new projects. Their existing work was often removed from circulation. Their business relationships were severed, and their influence was systematically dismantled. These stories serve as powerful reminders that in Hollywood, talent alone isn't enough to guarantee lasting success. Reputation, behavior, and public image are equally important currencies in the entertainment business. When those are damaged beyond repair, even the most successful careers can be erased from Hollywood history.